Zenzanina, 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 Zenzanina. What have we done? What have we done? What have we done? What have we done? Sono se tu, sono se tu, sono se tu, sono se tu. What is our sin? What is our sin? What is our sin? What is our sin? Zenzanina, 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 Zenzanina.
It is very good to be together here in this beautiful place for this sad yet very important occasion. Death has called us together. The deaths of majestic trees, the deaths of many parts of a small local ecosystem, the death of some of our trust and some of our hopes. But we have also been called by love. Love for life and for all of the living beings which nurture and sustain our human lives. This place where we gather here has been a land of living relations for thousands of years. It was the longtime home of First Peoples, specifically the Marys River or the Ampanamfu band of the Kalapuya people, who called this place Shampanafu, or the place of the blue elderberry. We must acknowledge that Kalapuya people were forcibly removed to reservations by Europeans after the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855, and that their descendants still here are part of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. It is important for us to acknowledge, especially today, that the United States seizures of these lands were a project of spiritual destruction that denied the Kalapuya people free and unhindered access to the land that fundamentally shapes their identity and spirituality. And in this gathering today, we might realize a solidarity with those First Peoples and those who remain as we share in the reality that the life of the land also shapes our lives. So we come now bringing many things. We bring wonderful memories of a beautiful place. We bring sadness and loss. We bring fears and sorrows. Some of us bring anger and disbelief, a present and growing despair, a too much deepening grief for all the loss we can already feel, and more that we will face. And we bring the many ideas and practices and faiths which sustain us as individuals, here to weave them together into a harmony of wisdom and courage and strength. We gather in solidarity. We gather in sorrow. We gather because we need each other to see more than we can see alone. We gather in love for the land, for the trees, and for all the lives which intertwine with ours. We gather in thanksgiving for the gifts of the life of this place, knowing that our lives here, like all others, are temporary. As we listen and speak, share singing and silence, may we comfort and encourage and strengthen each other. It is so good to be together. I'm very glad to welcome Kim Stafford to share with us some of his poems on this occasion.
Lessons from a tree. Seed split, root sprout, leaf bud. Delve deep, hold fast, reach far. Sway, lean, bow, loom. Climb high, stand tall, last long. Grow, thicken, billow, shade, sow seed. Rise by pluck, child of luck, lightning struck survivor. Burn, bleed, heal, remember, testify. Nest, host, guard, honor. Fall, settle, slump, surrender, offer, enrich, be duff, enough. And then a poem I wrote for this occasion, thinking about the 400 years behind us, and that got me thinking of the 400 years ahead of us. So this is called 2519. When they consider the rings of the tree you plant today, they will celebrate the concentric center and say, "This is the year Greta crossed the sea." This is the year they gathered to lament, then turned lament to frenzy. As fire pries open a fisted cone to scatter seed, they made grief seed action. By the rings ever outward, our descendants will trace the great change. Summerwood, as the tree rises to journey through time, building bounty for all beings. Will the great change be destruction? Will we build a furnace out of Eden? Will our comforts kill our children? Shall oil burn the sky? Or can human wisdom, like a sapling, grow taller, greener, more generous? How can we know what lies ahead? Plant a tree and see.
Bum 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 ba-dee-ah, bum 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 ba-dee-ah, bum bum ba-dee-ah, bum bum ba-dee-ah, bum bum ba-dee-ah, bum ba-dee-ah, bum ba-dee-ah, bum bum ba-dee-ah, bum ba-dee-ah, bum ba-dee-ah, bum ba-dee-ah, bum ba-dee-ah, bum ba-dee-ah, bum
We invite you now to share in the reading of some excerpts from a poem by W.S. Merwin. The title is Unchopping a Tree. It's easy to chop down a tree, but here the poet invites us again to imagine the intricate, meticulous, impossible process of putting a tree back together again. Norm Johnson is going to lead us in the reading, and Norm will be number 1. And if any of those of you who would like to join in will read at number 2, you're invited to read those parts.
Start with the leaves, the small twigs, and the nests that have been shaken, ripped, or broken off by the fall.
It goes without saying that if the tree was hollow, and contained whole nests of birds or mammals or insects, the contents will have to be repaired.
With spider webs, you must simply do the best you can.
It is ticklish work. Be careful to grind nothing into the ground.
At last, the time comes for the erecting of the trunk. Every motion of the tackle, every slightly upward heave of the trunk will draw from you an involuntary gasp.
When all is ready, the splintered trunk is lowered on the splinters of the stuff.
Now the chips must be gathered and the sawdust and returned to their former positions.
The day comes when it is all restored, even if the dead moss or the wound.
You will sleep badly, thinking of the removal of the scaffolding that must begin the next morning.
Under the moment of Christ, when the last remaining piece is removed, and the tree stands again on its own.
It is as though its weight for a moment stood on your heart.
How like something dreamed it is, standing there all by itself.
The first breeze that touches its dead branches all seems to flow into your mouth. You are afraid the motion of the clouds will be enough to push it over.
What more can you do?
What more can you do?
There is nothing more you can do.
Let us share together for a few moments in silence.
Sometime a long time ago, in a forest west of town, foresters led school children on a field trip through an Oregon squall. I came along holding my daughter's hand. Gusts of wind blew through, tumbling the crows. Hemlock boughs rose up and down as if they were patting alders on the head. The children jitterbugged up the trail to a towering tree where someone had nailed a sign. Douglas fir. Height, 124 feet. Board feet volume, 1,060. Number of 8-foot 2x4s, 208. Rolls of toilet paper, 6,890. That's impressive. But I can tell you that when the children pulled back their rain hoods to look toward the top of that tree, they didn't see toilet paper and 2x4s. They saw raindrops on draped lichens, a pine squirrel sitting on its haunches, a nuthatch upside down, sheltering branches, and a rain of cones when the wind gusted through. One of the children spotted a turkey tail fungus spread like Thanksgiving. They heard the nuthatch nerd, of course, and the scolding squirrel. They heard nestlings, thrushes trying pathetically to whistle as beautifully as their fathers. The wind shuffled the treetop, and the children heard this too, and falling cones tapping on salal and sword ferns. They leaned back to pick them up, bringing them to their little noses. They smelled a sweetness that reminded them of Christmas. They felt, how does a child feel in the presence of this height and beauty? A small one ran over and gave the tree a hug, and then they were all jostling for their turn as a teacher tried to corral them back onto the trail. But somehow, it becomes possible, through the terrible anesthesia of our time, to learn to look at a forest and see only commodities. It becomes possible to breathe sweet forest air and smell only diesel fuel and money. If a person develops the capacity not to see, not to hear, not to feel the ancient living forest, it becomes possible to mistake it for something of far less value, and to think nothing of cutting down its trees, hauling them away, bulldozing the small, stunned lives that remain, and spraying poison on the wreckage. Never mind. Now in Corvallis, the ancient grove called No Vacancy is gone. 15 mossy acres of an ancient community of towering trees, spider webs, and wildflowers traded away for $460,000. Nobody would take a child there now. It's too dangerous. The stickers, the smoldering pines, the poison, the precarious leaning deadheads, the soul-searing vandalism. But if the children were to go there anyway, what would they find? If they looked up, they would see not green branches dancing overhead, glancing light decorated with swags of robin flight. Instead, just the terrible emptiness of the sky. If they listened, they wouldn't hear birdsong and chittering squirrels, footfalls on moss, fog dripping. Instead, just the terrible silence of the empty sky. What would they feel? Not the comfort and exhilaration of the breathing lives, but the terrible sadness of the empty sky. We mourn the passing of an ancient grove that 4 centuries quietly, steadfastly sheltered us and made us glad and grateful. But it's a far more crushing sadness to learn that those awful deaths were needless, muddled, the result of misunderstanding, what Dean Davis calls a mistake. That's a shameful mistake for a college that calls itself a trusted authority and world leader. But okay, I understand mistakes. As we philosophers are wont to say, shit happens. It does indeed. But sometimes institutions deliberately create or tolerate the conditions under which shit is more likely to occur. That changes an accident into a moral failing. That's the sort of mistake that happens when a college is unable or unwilling to escape the entrapments of dangerously inbred and outdated self-dealing assumptions of industrial forestry. The college has a moral obligation truly to understand the deep existential relationship of forests and the future of civilization in this time and this place. The college has a moral obligation to understand three things that they and we must now understand. One, we must understand that we do not have the luxury to live in ordinary times, but the responsibility of living at a unique hinge point in history. The last time that humankind will have a choice to continue with business as usual and watch the planetary systems that support our children's lives fray and fall apart, or to participate in the greatest exercise of the moral imagination the world has ever seen, turning abruptly toward a better way. We know what we have to do to save the world for the children. Number one, stop burning carbon. But number two, suck carbon dioxide out of the air by planting 3 billion trees. Actually, now 3,160,000,000 trees because of what the College of Forestry destroyed, but no, actually 3,160,000,000 and another 200 trees to account for the carbon spit out by their chainsaws and trucks. In this time, it is not morally possible to routinely cut forests, transmogrify them into obscenely big houses and unneeded university buildings, haul them away in diesel trucks, burn them, the broken limbs, burn them in mushroom clouds of oily smoke from the hills behind town. What is morally necessary is to plant trees, to save trees, to recover the soil. We must empower forests to save our skins on the chance that they might save our souls. Make no mistake. 2, we must understand that we are living in a time of extinction. In our lifetimes, 40% of everything that has the breath of life, animals and plants, has been erased from the face of the earth. 4 out of every 10 beings. In our lifetimes, the populations of the birds we love the best, the red-winged blackbirds and the robins, have been cut by 1/3. It will take 5 to 7 million years for the planet to recover the abundance and diversity of lives lost in our lifetimes. In this time, it is not morally possible to bulldoze wildflowers, the lady slippers, and crush the nests of owls. It is no longer possible to mistake biodiversity for a cash account and trade it away to pay reckless debts. What is morally necessary is to protect all the lives that are left, these lives that are the irreplaceable consequence of planetary creativity over 4 billion years. We have to transform campuses and yards, and especially ancient research forests, into refuges, to save the beings large and small that can still, possibly, escape through the crushingly narrow hourglass of our time. What is gone forever. What is left, that's what the world will be made of. Make no mistake. Number 3, we must understand that a forest is not a bunch of trees. Forest is the name of the process of weaving lives into an endless tapestry, weaving green and green and green and green and black with red spots, creating a complex whole where each watery warp and each fledgling wolf, each part is astonishing and alive and worthy. Worthy. The spar and the stone, the rain, the wasp, the children, nestlings, saplings, fingerling trout. On this planet, the glittering urgency of ongoing life is as close as we will ever get to the sacred, and forests are its jubilant expression. It follows that every suffering, every destruction of an old forest is a profanity. It is a violence we cannot even begin to measure because we have only the sorriest understanding of the forest's multitude of lives. Be prepared for anger and grief. Be prepared also for gratitude. Be prepared with the strongest moral resolve to guarantee that no more ancient forests will be sold out from under our children. They are not ours to sell. They belong to the future of the everlasting earth. So, who among us didn't cradle their newborn babies in their arms and whisper promises into their wispy hair. I will always love you. I will keep you safe. I will give you the world. We didn't mean, I will give you whatever is left scattered and torn on the table out of this great cosmic going out of business sale. We said, I will give you this beautiful, life-sustaining, bird-graced, tree-shaded, rain-polished world. Now is the time when we, all of us, have to make good on that promise. Make no mistake.
Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing with us. And thank you, all of you, for sharing some of your memories and some of your feelings at this time, and especially about this forest. And we're going to share a few of those remembrances. So this is in memory of this forest. You comforted me so many times, loved, missed.
I remember your great arms, which cradled the spotted owls when I surveyed the McDonald Dun in 2006.
When I walk through the forest, I feel the majesty. I feel its life, its death, its hope, its peace. It is promise.
I will love you still, my lovely trees, all our elder trees, with all their wisdom lost.
We failed you. We are so sorry. We will not fail again.
I miss the quiet of the old growth.
Stand up for trees so that they may stand in their glory.
Moss, mushrooms, and moist smells in a green cathedral.
A family of words: tree, trust, truth, truce. We belong here.
Gratitude and grief for the loss of a remarkable and beautiful family. And then this from E.E. Cummings. The force that through the green fuse drives the flower, drives my red blood.
Thank you, dear ones, for all the homes and nutrition and life you provided for so many for so long.
A rain-wet branch of cedar brushes my cheek, washing away the salt, and the cold, clear touch of it heals.
We should always strive to respect our environment, and the loss of these trees reminds me of the importance of our world. They will be missed.
Like everything, you will come back in your own way, in your own time. You will not be forgotten.
So little old growth left, so much to learn.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, a life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
May the nests of the owls and voles be safe. May the baby trees grow tall. When people walk in the forest, may they walk in peace and friendship. And if there comes a time when children are afraid, may they return to the mossy old grandmother trees whose arms reach down to hold them. And may they love the grandmother trees as much as they can.